This message is going out to all parents and guardians of kids that have skin. If you are a very good friend and you know of a friend of yours that have a kid or kids that have skin and they are athletes, please recommend to them that they start a pre-maintenance skincare right now before they get older. Here's a quick story for you. I grew up in the South, so we played football outside. And so we would have to deal, of course, with the sweat coming out of our pores. You have to deal with the dirt. You have to deal with the elements. You have to deal with just being a young person. So our hormones were totally going crazy, right? And so none of us had a proper skincare regimen when I was growing up. Didn't know anything about it. And so all of us would, clean our helmets off, which was recommended by the coaches. But then we would also wash our face, but we didn't know how to properly treat our face. We just washed our face with regular soap. And so we had this one friend that had bumps all over the face, and he had it a lot worse than a lot of us did. He had it so bad to where his bumps would not actually form. So let's say he could relieve the pressure. And so the doctors had to sedate that area. They had to numb that area because the bumps never truly formed because he was making so much contact with his head, right? He was tackling so much until those bumps never had a chance to push through the skin properly. And so they had to, like I said, numb that area with needles. Then they had to slice that area open. And they had to literally scrape that content from underneath his skin. And so once I saw that, I said, okay, this is a freaking game changer, right? And so I knew that once I started having young athletes, that the first thing that we were going to do, me and my wife, we agreed on that we were going to start a pre-maintenance healthcare for our kids before they actually need it. So what we did was we used, and I am not a spokesman for Ambi soap. That's all our kids have ever used is Ambi black soap. And one of the best reasons why we chose this soap is because it doesn't dry the skin out completely. And so as of right now, my daughters, you have to use a magnifying glass to try to find any type of bumps or any type of zits on their face. And so when our daughter's friends asked them, what type of skincare do you use? Their friends always get upset with them because the only answer that our daughter uses is, I use Ambi black soap. And they're like, what? When I'm paying, $60, $100+ a month for this treatment to treat my skin, you just go on Amazon or you just go to the dollar store and buy Ambi black soap? And she's like, yeah, that's all I do. And so that's the type of relief that I want to give you parents. Now, of course, this is not a foolproof plan, but what I will say is this. Before our kids started becoming athletes, right, they already knew that they had to wash their face 2, sometimes even 3 times a day to make sure that they was able to remove all the dirt and grime and, just everything out of the air off their skin. And so our kids have less breakouts. Now you have to understand, most athletes put on this hard persona, right? That they're just tough, male and females. That they put on this, they have this outer shell where they're just these tough people. But I guarantee you, if they have skin issue all over their face, they probably would choose the alternative not to have those skincare issues. And I couldn't tell you about so many of us as we were growing up that was a real challenge, man. I mean, we were literally broken. We sometimes even came to tears because, the skin ain't right. And so we simply did not have the knowledge to do anything about it other than walk into your local store, buy some product that had a lot of alcohol in it, and start dabbing that stuff all over your face. And so we didn't understand skin at that time when I was growing up. So my whole talk today is very simple. If I can assist your kid in having at least one less struggle as they try to figure out life, because you're talking about young people. They're going to have hormone issues. It's going to constantly change on them. You got particles in the air. You got pollen. You have, depending on whether they play sports inside or outside, you got the dirt. You have the sweat constantly, and so there's just a lot going on with our babies once they decide to become athletes. So I'm going to stress to you, even if you don't use the Ambi Black soap, right? Get with your dermatologist, if you have one, and figure out what is a good pre-maintenance product that you can use to help prevent future breakouts. And that's all that me and my wife done, is that we position our kids where they have very few breakouts. And so now they can worry about everything else other than how the outside of their face looks. So I hope that helps. And I will put a picture of the Ambi Black soap down to the bottom so you guys can see exactly what we use personally and what our kids use. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.